You understand the words. So, why does your mind go blank when someone speaks quickly and expects an answer? Welcome back to Talk Grow English. I'm Emma, and today we are not collecting more English. We are unlocking the English already inside you. You know the feeling. You follow a conversation, understand almost everything, and then someone turns to you with a direct question. Suddenly, your body becomes tense. You translate the question, search for perfect words, check the grammar, reject one sentence, and try to build another. By the time your answer is ready, the moment has passed. You give a tiny reply or say nothing. Later, of course, 5 excellent answers appear in your mind. Does that sound familiar? Then hear this clearly. Your English has not disappeared, and you are not failing. You may understand complex ideas and express yourself beautifully when you have time. The real problem is often not knowledge. It is access. Can you reach the English you already know while connected speech is moving quickly and another person is waiting? That is the skill we will train together. You will listen, react, repeat, shadow, and speak with me. You do not need to catch every sound because natural speech does not arrive as separate, perfectly shaped words. Follow the meaning instead. Notice the speaker's intention, feel the emotion, and sense where the conversation is going. Let's test this in an everyday situation. You meet someone you have not seen for a few weeks, and they ask, "So, what have you been up to lately?" You understand the question, but your mind begins searching for an impressive answer. A friendly conversation suddenly feels like an exam, but it is not an exam. You do not need a perfect opening. You only need a natural bridge that keeps you connected and gives your mind time to move. Listen, that's a good question. Now repeat after me. That's a good question. Good. Keep your voice relaxed, as if you are genuinely considering the answer. Here is another useful bridge. Let me think for a second. Repeat it. Let me think for a second. Now connect the two phrases smoothly. That's a good question. Let me think for a second. One more time, with less effort. That's a good question. Let me think for a second. Easier, isn't it? These phrases are not empty. They protect your speaking time and show the other person that you are still engaged. Now I'll ask you again. Do not prepare or translate. Use the bridge. Then add one honest sentence. So, what have you been up to lately? You could answer, "That's a good question. Let me think for a second. I've been spending more time on my English." Your answer can be simple. The goal is not to impress anyone. It is to stay present and respond from meaning rather than perfection. Hold on to that feeling. You stayed in the conversation, gave yourself time, and answered in English. Next, we will make that response faster, longer, and more natural without returning to translation. The good news is that speed grows naturally when you stop demanding a perfect answer. Let's test that with a quick response challenge. I'll ask 3 personal questions with less thinking time each time. For the first, use this bridge. That's a good question. Let me think for a second. Ready? What is something you have enjoyed recently? Answer now with one simple sentence. Perhaps you said, I've enjoyed walking in the evening, or I've been watching a great series. If your answer was different, even better, it came from your life. Now, a little faster. What would you like to improve this year? Start speaking now. You might say, I'd say my confidence when speaking English. Notice how I'd say gives your mind a moment to find the next idea. Repeat after me, I'd say. Now complete this. I'd say I'd like to improve. Don't plan the ending too carefully. Did you hesitate? That's completely normal. Hesitation is not failure. It may be the moment your brain chooses English directly instead of translating. Here comes the final question. Respond as soon as you hear it. What are you going to do after this lesson? Answer now. Keep it short if you need to. You could say, I'm going to make some coffee, or I'm going to keep studying. You might also say, I'm not really sure, but I may go for a walk. That last answer feels natural, doesn't it? Real life is full of uncertainty, so you don't always need a firm or impressive opinion. Repeat this useful starter. I'm not really sure, but. Once more, smoothly, I'm not really sure, but. Now finish it with your own thought. Excellent. You've answered 3 personal questions without carefully building every sentence in your first language. Maybe your grammar wasn't flawless. Maybe one word arrived late. But you stayed connected to the meaning, and that matters far more. Imagine you're having lunch with a colleague. They ask, "What are you doing this weekend?" You reply, "I'm not really sure, but I might visit my family." What about you? Why add "what about you"? Because it shows interest, keeps the conversation moving, and gives you a moment to breathe. Small phrases can carry a conversation. Shadow the complete response with me. I'm not really sure, but I might visit my family. What about you? Again, following my rhythm. I'm not really sure, but I might visit my family. What about you? That makes sense. Fast English becomes easier when you stop chasing every separate sound and follow the meaning, intention, emotion, and direction instead. Remember this principle: meaning before perfection. It isn't permission to stop improving. It's permission to stay present while you improve. Next, we'll explore why translation can still feel automatic, even at an advanced level. Before you speak faster, you need to notice the quiet habit slowing you down. That quiet habit often begins before you even realize it, so let's slow down and catch it in action. When you hear the word coffee, what appears in your mind first? Do you see the word written down? Do you hear the equivalent word in your first language? Or do you picture a warm cup, smell the coffee, and imagine that first sip? There is no wrong answer. Just notice what your mind does. Thinking in English begins when the word coffee connects directly to the drink, the smell, the warmth, and the experience. It no longer needs to travel through another language before it reaches meaning. Let's try this with a familiar morning. Picture yourself getting ready when you suddenly look at the time. You realize you should have left 5 minutes ago. What thought appears naturally? I'm running late. Don't search for a translation. See the clock, feel the urgency, and repeat after me, I'm running late. Again, with that feeling of sudden pressure. I'm running late. You rush toward the door, but something is missing. You check your pockets and look at the table. I need to grab my keys. Picture your hand reaching for them as you repeat, I need to grab my keys. One more time, naturally, I need to grab my keys. Then you notice a message that needs a careful reply. You cannot handle it now, so you think, I'll deal with that later. Imagine putting the phone away. Repeat, I'll deal with that later. Good. You are connecting each sentence to an intention, not to a definition. Now let's make that connection faster. I'll give you a situation, and you create one immediate English thought. You look outside and see dark clouds moving toward you. What do you think? You might say, it's going to rain, or simply, I need an umbrella. Both work because both belong to the situation. Your phone lights up with a message from someone you did not expect to hear from. Respond in your mind now. Perhaps, that's unexpected, or I wonder what they want. You suddenly remember an appointment you forgot. What is your first English reaction? Oh no, I completely forgot. Say it with me. Oh no, I completely forgot. You open the refrigerator because you are hungry, but there is almost nothing inside. Quick response, there's nothing to eat. Now you are on the platform, and the train doors are about to close. What flashes through your mind? I'm going to miss it. Repeat quickly, I'm going to miss it. Notice what we are building. A real scene appears, and English meets it directly. If your first language appeared during the drill, that is completely normal. Gently return to the image, the feeling, and the English thought. That gentle return matters more than getting every answer right the first time. You are not fighting your first language. You are simply giving English a more direct path to your experience. Let's strengthen that path with two phrases you hear all the time. Actually, and to be honest. Imagine I ask, "Are you still going out tonight?" You could search for a perfect explanation and miss the moment. Or you could simply say, "Actually, I changed my mind." Do you hear what actually does? It signals that the situation is different from what someone expected. Picture yourself putting your coat back in the closet and repeat, "Actually, I changed my mind." Again, a little more smoothly, "Actually, I changed my mind." Now try, "Actually, I've already seen that movie." Good. Complete a true sentence about yourself. Actually, I. Perhaps you said, "Actually, I prefer tea." Or, "Actually, I'm staying home today." Both work because you connected the phrase to a real intention, not a translated script. Now I ask, what do you think about moving to another country? That's a good question. Still, you do not need an impressive answer. You can create space by saying, "To be honest, I haven't thought about it much." This phrase tells the listener that a genuine response is coming. Say it with me. To be honest, I haven't thought about it much. Once more, with a calm rhythm. To be honest, I haven't thought about it much. Your turn. To be honest, I. What came to mind? Maybe, to be honest, I'm a little tired. Or, to be honest, I don't really enjoy cooking. Notice what happened. You started naturally, then followed your meaning, instead of trying to build a perfect speech. Let's test both phrases quickly. Do you want coffee? Answer, "Actually, I'd prefer some water." Did you enjoy the event? Answer, "To be honest, it wasn't really my thing." That means it did not match your interests or taste. Repeat the whole answer. To be honest, it wasn't really my thing. Now think about your own experience. When does translation become strongest for you? While listening to fast speech, or when you need to respond quickly? Maybe it happens during conflict. Emotions rise, and you want to choose every word carefully. Or perhaps small talk is harder because the topic changes before your answer is ready. Unfamiliar topics can create the same pressure. I know what I mean, but I don't know how to say it. I see what you mean. That feeling is frustrating, but it proves you already have something worth expressing. Ask yourself in English, when do I translate the most? Start small. I translate most when I'm nervous. Now expand it. I translate most when I'm nervous because I'm afraid of making a mistake. That makes sense, doesn't it? Fluency grows when one meaningful thought becomes one clear sentence, and then a fuller response. You are beginning to connect English directly to meaning. Next, We'll make fast English easier by changing the size of what you listen for. Instead of listening for smaller pieces, let's make each piece larger. Fast English becomes much clearer when you hear meaning groups, not isolated words. Listen to this sentence. I was going to call you, but I got caught up with something. If you chase every word, your mind may get stuck on going to, while the speaker is already saying caught up. Then the whole message seems to disappear. So let's hear it as 3 thoughts. I was going to call you, but I got caught up with something. Can you feel the difference? First, there was a planned action. Then, something interrupted it. Finally, the speaker gives a general explanation. Listen again in natural rhythm. I was going to call you, but I got caught up with something. Now repeat after me, one meaning group at a time. I was going to call you, but I got caught up with something. Good. Now connect the groups without losing their meaning. I was going to call you, but I got caught up with something. You do not need a perfect transcript in your head. You need the speaker's intention, planned call, unexpected interruption, brief explanation. Let's try another everyday sentence. As far as I know, the meeting is still happening. Imagine a colleague asks, was the meeting canceled? You do not have complete information, so you answer, as far as I know, the meeting is still happening. Here 2 clear groups, as far as I know. The meeting is still happening. What is the intention? The speaker believes this is true, but leaves room for uncertainty. Say it with me. As far as I know, the meeting is still happening. Here is another one. For some reason, my phone keeps turning itself off. Maybe you are trying to send a message, and the screen suddenly goes dark again. You are confused, so you say, for some reason, my phone keeps turning itself off. Here are the groups. For some reason, my phone keeps turning itself off. Before you repeat it, say the meaning in simple English. You could say, I don't know why, but my phone keeps switching off. Exactly. Meaning first, original words second. Now repeat the natural sentence. For some reason, my phone keeps turning itself off. Let's make it slightly longer. When it comes to cooking, I'd say I'm confident, but baking is another story. Listen for the shape of the thought. When it comes to cooking, I'd say I'm confident, but baking is another story. The topic is cooking. The opinion is confidence. Then comes a contrast. Baking is more difficult. What about you? Complete this frame in your own way. When it comes to cooking, I'd say. You might say, when it comes to cooking, I'd say I'm fairly creative, but I rarely follow recipes. Notice how the chunks carry the message forward. You are not building the sentence word by word. You are moving from topic to opinion to contrast. Now shadow the full line. When it comes to cooking, I'd say I'm confident, but baking is another story. One more time, matching my rhythm. When it comes to cooking, I'd say I'm confident, but baking is another story. That makes sense, doesn't it? Once you hear the purpose of each group, even a longer sentence starts to feel organized rather than fast. Let's use that sense of organization in a reconstruction exercise. Listen for the message, not every single word. First, hear the sentence in slow meaning groups. As far as I know, the meeting is still happening, but they may change the time. What does that mean in simple English? Take a second and say it your way. You might say, I believe the meeting is happening, although the time is uncertain. Yes, that captures the message. Now hear the natural rhythm. As far as I know, the meeting is still happening, but they may change the time. Repeat after me with the same rhythm. As far as I know, the meeting is still happening, but they may change the time. Good. As far as I know shows that you believe something, but you are not claiming complete certainty. Let's make it harder. At the end of the day, we need to choose the option that works for everyone. Before repeating it, simplify the meaning. What is the speaker really saying? After considering everything, the group needs a practical choice. Now shadow me. At the end of the day, we need to choose the option that works for everyone. Again, without chasing every word, at the end of the day, we need to choose the option that works for everyone. Did you notice how each meaning group gave your mind somewhere to rest? That small feeling of relief is exactly what we want. Here is a useful response frame. The thing is, it gives you thinking time and tells the listener that an explanation is coming. Imagine I ask, "Are you coming on Saturday?" You answer, "The thing is, I've already promised to help my sister." The first chunk prepares me. The second gives your reason. Repeat, the thing is, I've already promised to help my sister. Now I'm asking you, are you coming on Saturday? Begin with the thing is, and add a real reason from your life. Maybe you said, the thing is, I have to work. Or, the thing is, I'm visiting my parents. Both sound natural because you built the answer in meaningful pieces. Ready for one final challenge? Listen for only 3 anchors: the topic, the speaker's attitude, and the next action. When it comes to moving to a new office, I see what you mean about needing more space. But to be honest, I'm worried about the cost, so I'm going to review the budget tomorrow. What is the topic? Moving to a new office. What is the attitude? The speaker understands the idea but worries about the cost. And what happens next? The budget will be reviewed tomorrow. That makes sense, doesn't it? Now shadow it in 3 broad movements. When it comes to moving to a new office, I see what you mean, but I'm worried about the cost. So I'm going to review the budget tomorrow. That is successful listening. You do not need a perfect transcript in your mind. You need the topic, the feeling, and the direction, meaning groups reveal the structure of a message. But in fast English, sounds also change shape, and that brings us naturally to connected speech. Connected speech is where familiar words can suddenly seem to disappear, but the words are usually still there. They have simply changed shape. Listen to this question carefully. What are you going to do? Now hear it in a natural, relaxed way. What are you gonna do? Did that sound like a completely different sentence? I understand why it might, but the meaning has not changed at all. What are you can blend into something closer to wadaya, and going to often becomes gana in conversation. You do not have to force yourself to copy one particular accent. Your first goal is recognition, and your second goal is flexible, comfortable speaking. Let's make these changes feel more predictable. Imagine that your phone is on the floor, and I say, "Could you pick it up?" What action am I asking you to take? I want you to lift the phone from the floor. The clear phrase is pick it up, but in connected speech, the words flow together. Pick it up. Repeat after me at a careful speed. Pick it up. A little more smoothly. Pick it up. Now naturally. Could you pick it up? Good. Keep the meaning in your mind while your mouth follows the connection. Here is another one. The television is too loud, and someone says, "Turn it off." What do they want? They want the television to stop. The phrase is not three separate blocks. It connects turn it off. Repeat slowly, turn it off. Smoothly, turn it off. Naturally, can you turn it off? Notice how the final sound of one word seems to move toward the next word. English speakers often connect sounds because it takes less effort. Now listen in context. We ordered too much food, but somehow we ate a lot of it. What did they eat? A large amount of the food. The clear form is a lot of it. In natural speech, it may sound closer to a lot of it. Repeat carefully, a lot of it. More smoothly, a lot of it. And naturally, we ate a lot of it. If you missed one tiny sound, that is okay. The situation, the main words, and the rhythm still guide you toward the meaning. Try this one. The documentary was kind of interesting. Was it extremely exciting? Probably not. Kind of interesting gives us a softer, less certain reaction. In relaxed speech, kind of often sounds like kinda. Listen, it was kinda interesting. Repeat slowly, kind of interesting. Smoothly, kinda interesting. Naturally, actually, it was kinda interesting. What about you? Can you think of a film that was kind of interesting, but not amazing? Answer in one sentence. You might say, I'd say the last film I watched was kind of interesting. Linking is only one reason words seem to vanish. Another reason is that small grammar words often become quieter. Listen, I could have told you. In everyday speech, could have may sound like could've. I could've told you. The important picture comes from I, told, and you. The smaller word have is still doing its grammatical job, but it does not need the same strength. Repeat after me. I could have told you. Now let it relax. I could have told you. One more time with a natural feeling of mild frustration. You know, I could have told you. That softer have is not a mistake. It is part of the rhythm of everyday English. Listen, you should have asked. Clearly, we can say every word, you should have asked. But naturally, it becomes, you should have asked. Repeat slowly, you should have asked. Now say it smoothly, with a little regret. You should have asked. Notice the difference. Should is lighter, while asked carries the important meaning. You do not need to pronounce every word with equal force. Here is another sentence. I'll meet you at the station. The strongest words are meet and station. The smaller words relax around them. Say it slowly. I'll meet you at the station. Now connect it naturally. I'll meet you at the station. Good. Natural speech has a shape. Let's put that rhythm into a real situation. Imagine you missed your train, and I say, I thought you were already there. What would you say? Maybe, I was on my way, but I missed the train. First, repeat my sentence in two parts. I thought you were already there. Now put the parts together. I thought you were already there. Let the small words move quickly, but keep the important words clear. Then I ask, why didn't you call me? You could answer, I would have called, but my phone was in my bag. Listen to would've. The words would have become one light unit. I would've called. Now add the reason. I would've called, but my phone was in my bag. Here is the final line. The train was about to leave. In fast speech, about to may sound almost like about to, as in, it was about to leave. Say it in short units. It was about to leave. Now shadow me. It was about to leave. Add urgency. You are explaining what happened, not reciting a grammar exercise. Let's try the whole exchange. I say, I thought you were already there. You answer, I would've called, but my phone was in my bag. I ask, so what happened? You say, it was about to leave, so I ran for it. Can you hear the key words? Thought, already, called, phone, leave, and ran? Those words create the picture. The smaller words connect that picture smoothly. That is why understanding fast English is not about catching every sound equally. Quick confidence check. If I say, "I'll meet you at the station," what action do you hear? Exactly. Someone plans to meet another person there. If I say, "You should ask," what feeling do you hear? Perhaps mild frustration or regret. And if I say, "It was about to leave," you understand that the departure was very close. You have just heard linking, reductions, and weak forms inside real sentences. When your ears stop fighting natural speech, your voice can begin to follow its rhythm. Keep listening for the meaning, the emotion, and the important words. That is the path from hearing fast English to responding naturally. And once your voice begins to follow that rhythm, you are ready for shadowing. Shadowing means speaking just behind another speaker, almost like your voice is following their footsteps. But please do not turn it into a test of perfect imitation. You do not need to copy every detail of my accent. Your real goal is to preserve the meaning, the emotional direction, and the movement of the sentence. Listen for the words that carry stress. Notice where the voice rises, where it settles, and how the thought continues without breaking apart. If you chase every individual sound, you may become tense. If you follow the message, your timing often becomes more natural. Let's try this with a simple story. First, just listen for meaning. I arrived at the cafe a little late. My friend was already sitting by the window, and she had ordered coffee for both of us. I felt slightly embarrassed, but she smiled and said it was no problem. We decided to stay there and get some work done. What happened? You do not need every word. A person arrived late. The friend had already ordered, and they stayed to work. Now let's slow down and repeat each line. Keep your voice relaxed and give the important words a little more energy. Repeat after me. I arrived at the cafe a little late. Again, with the stress on arrived, cafe, and late. I arrived at the cafe a little late. My friend was already sitting by the window. Let already and window stand out. My friend was already sitting by the window, and she had ordered coffee for both of us. In natural speech, she had may sound closer to she'd. Try it, and she'd ordered coffee for both of us. I felt slightly embarrassed, but she smiled and said it was no problem. Notice the emotional turn. Embarrassed feels uncomfortable, but she smiled brings relief. Say it again with that change in feeling. I felt slightly embarrassed, but she smiled and said it was no problem. We decided to stay there and get some work done. Keep the sentence moving through the smaller words. We decided to stay there and get some work done. Good. Before you shadow, listen to the whole passage once more without speaking. I arrived at the cafe a little late. My friend was already sitting by the window, and she'd ordered coffee for both of us. I felt slightly embarrassed, but she smiled and said it was no problem. We decided to stay there and get some work done. Did you hear the story moving forward rather than a collection of separate words? That forward movement is what you want to follow. Now stay a few words behind me. Do not rush to catch up, and do not stop if one sound feels imperfect. I arrived at the cafe a little late. My friend was already sitting by the window, and she'd ordered coffee for both of us. I felt slightly embarrassed, but she smiled and said it was no problem. We decided to stay there and get some work done. Take a comfortable breath. In the next round, you will move beyond imitation and make the story your own. Now retell the cafe story in your own words. Keep the meaning, but let the language sound like you. You could begin, I got to the cafe later than planned. My friend had already found a table and bought us coffee. Then continue. I felt bad about being late, but she was kind about it. In the end, we stayed and worked together. Your version does not need to match mine. If the story is clear and your voice keeps moving, you are building real fluency. What changed when you stopped imitating and started retelling? Perhaps your breathing became easier, or your voice sounded more natural. That difference matters. Shadowing gives you a path to follow, while retelling teaches you to walk it independently. You are not chasing my accent. You are learning how English carries meaning through stress, rhythm, and emotion. Let's bring that rhythm into a real conversation. Imagine the cafe is getting noisy while you are trying to work. I say, it's getting difficult to concentrate in here. Maybe we should find somewhere quieter. Your quick response is, I see what you mean. Repeat after me, I see what you mean. Good. Let the stressed words guide you. I see what you mean. Can you hear the understanding in your voice? Now I say, there's a small library across the street, and it usually has plenty of space. You respond, that makes sense. Say it with genuine agreement. That makes sense. Ready to shadow the full exchange? Stay slightly behind me. Follow the emotional movement and keep going if you miss a word. It's getting difficult to concentrate in here. Maybe we should find somewhere quieter. I see what you mean. What about the library across the street? That could work. It's usually calm in the afternoon. That makes sense. Let's go before it gets busy. Try it once more. Do not copy every sound mechanically. Follow the stress, connect the words, and speak with a clear intention. I see what you mean shows that you understand someone's concern, even before you have a solution. It keeps the conversation warm. That makes sense also signals active listening. It tells the other person, I'm following you, and your idea seems reasonable. These short reactions give your mind time to prepare its next thought. More importantly, they help the other person feel heard. Ready for a 15-second challenge. Tell me whether you prefer working in a quiet place or a lively one, and explain why. Begin with, "I'd say I prefer." Then continue without stopping to correct every small mistake. I'm listening as your conversation partner, not judging you as an examiner. To be honest, your reason matters more than perfect grammar. Did your answer feel imperfect? That is completely all right. Fluency grows when you trust the thought, follow the rhythm, and keep moving. That makes sense, doesn't it? Natural conversation depends not only on complete answers, but also on quick, human reactions that connect one thought to the next. Exactly. A quick reaction keeps the conversation alive, even when your full answer is still forming. Without one, your mind may go silent while it searches for the perfect translation. So instead of saying nothing, try a small, meaningful response. Really? Shows interest. No way shows surprise. I can imagine shows empathy. That sounds difficult shows concern. Listen to how the feeling changes with your voice. Really? With a warm, rising tone invites the speaker to continue. Really? With a flat tone can sound doubtful. The words are the same, but your intention is different. Let's put these reactions into real situations. Imagine someone says, "My flight was delayed for 8 hours, and I had to sleep on the airport floor." What would you say immediately? That sounds difficult. Say it now, and let your voice show that you mean it. Good. You are not trying to tell your own story yet. You are showing the person that you are with them in theirs. Now imagine this. On my first day at work, I got lost in the building and arrived at the wrong meeting. Your reaction could be, "No way." Say it with gentle surprise, not judgment. "No way." What happened next? Notice the pattern. First, you react. Then, you show curiosity. That tiny question keeps the other person talking and gives you more time to think naturally. Here is another one. My new neighbor noticed I was sick and left some soup outside my door. Try, "That's really kind." Or say, "I can imagine how touched you were." Choose one and say it without translating word by word. Did you feel a little slower than usual? That is normal. You are training a reaction to come directly from meaning, not from a grammar exercise. One more story. We had planned a weekend at the beach, but the weather changed, so we drove into the mountains instead. What fits best? "That makes sense" does not fit yet, because the speaker has not explained a decision. You could say, "Really?" Or "That sounds like a nice change." Now let's focus on "that makes sense." It means you understand someone's reasoning. It does not mean you agree with every part of what they said. For example, I decided to work from home because the commute was taking 2 hours every day. You can say, "That makes sense." You understand the decision. But if you see it differently, say, "That makes sense, although I might look at it differently." Repeat that slowly. That makes sense, although I might look at it differently. Keep your tone calm and respectful. You are disagreeing without closing the door. Now respond quickly. I was nervous before the interview, but I prepared carefully, so I felt more confident. A natural reaction is, "I see what you mean," or "That makes sense." Choose one. Then add, "How did the interview go?" I forgot my umbrella, but the rain stopped just as I reached the station. Try, "What luck?" Then ask, "Did you still get wet?" Short reaction. Small question. Open conversation. I'm not really sure whether I made the right decision, but I needed a change. Say, "I can understand that." Then ask, "How are you feeling about it now?" Let your reaction carry warmth before your question carries curiosity. Here's the pattern I want you to make automatic. React first, then become curious. A quick reaction shows you are listening, and a follow-up question keeps the conversation alive. Let's train it. I'll give you a situation. Respond before you hear my suggestion, and don't wait for a perfect sentence. My flight was delayed for 6 hours, and I missed my connection. What comes to mind? You could say, "That sounds difficult." How did you finally get home? Good. Your first job is not to impress the speaker. It is to connect with them. Try another one. My first day at work was overwhelming, but one colleague stayed late to help me. How would you react? Perhaps, "I can imagine," or "That was kind of them." Both responses fit because you noticed the stress and the kindness. Now listen for a gentler feeling. My neighbor noticed I was ill, so she left some soup outside my door. You might answer, "That's so thoughtful." Did you know her well before that? Say the whole response with me, "That's so thoughtful." Did you know her well before that? Did you hear how warmth changes the sentence? Tone carries meaning. Really? With a gentle rise sounds interested. But the same word in a low, sharp voice can sound doubtful or annoyed. Say the interested version. Really? Now try the doubtful version. Really? The word stays the same, yet the message changes completely. Let's test that awareness. We planned to have dinner downtown, but our friends suddenly invited us to a concert. React quickly. No way. That sounds fun. Did you go? That works if the speaker sounds excited. But what if they say, "We wanted a quiet dinner, but everyone changed the plan at the last minute"? Would an enthusiastic "no way" still feel right? Probably not. Try, "Oh, I see what you mean. Was that frustrating? You are responding to the person's emotion, not merely to the event. Here's a more delicate example. I turned down the promotion because I would have had less time with my family. Avoid judging the choice. Say, that makes sense. Was it a difficult decision? If your view differs, soften it. That makes sense. Although I might look at it differently. Repeat that calmly. That makes sense. Although I might look at it differently. You are not pretending to agree. You are respecting the reasoning, while leaving room for your own opinion. Now you do both steps alone. React, then ask a question. I've been offered a job in another city, but I'm not really sure whether I want to move. Answer now. I'd say, that's a big decision. What would you miss most about where you live now? What about you? Your response may be completely different. Natural conversation has no single correct answer. Stay present, notice the feeling, and keep the connection alive. A quick reaction opens the door. A simple question carries you through it, helping you respond naturally before your mind starts translating or over-editing every word. Once you open that door, you can do something even more useful. Turn a short answer into a natural response. Let's begin with a simple question. Do you enjoy working from home? You could say, yes. That is correct, but the conversation has nowhere to go. Now listen, yes, most of the time, because I can focus better in the morning. Can you feel the difference? The second answer gives the other person something to respond to. A flexible pattern can help. Answer directly, add a reason, share one personal detail, and, if you want, return the question. For example, yes, most of the time, because I can focus better in the morning. I usually finish my hardest task before lunch. What about you? You do not need every step each time. They are choices, not strict rules. Repeat after me, yes, most of the time, because I can focus better in the morning. Again, connect the words gently. Most of the time, because I can focus better. Now answer for yourself. Do you enjoy working from home, studying at home, or simply spending time at home? Start directly, add one reason, and include a detail from your real life. Maybe you said, yes, I do, because it's quieter. I can concentrate without being interrupted. That sounds clear, personal, and easy to continue. When you want to offer a considered opinion, I'd say is useful. It gives you a moment to think without making you sound uncertain. Listen, what's your favorite time of day? I'd say early evening, because I can finally slow down. Repeat, I'd say early evening. Keep I'd say light and connected. Now finish this sentence. I'd say my favorite time of day is. Add a simple reason with because. Let's try another one. What habit helps you most? You might say, I'd say planning the next day before I go to bed. Your turn. I'd say the most useful habit I have is. Here is a deeper question. What skill has been difficult for you to learn? Begin with I'd say. Name the skill and add one honest detail. I might answer, I'd say public speaking because I used to think every sentence had to be perfect. And what makes someone a good friend? Finish this thought. I'd say a good friend is someone who. Notice what you are doing. You are not searching for an impressive answer. You are building a clear one. Sometimes, one direct answer is not possible. That is where "it depends" can help. But do not stop there. If you only say, "It depends," the listener may wonder, depends on what? Compare these responses. Do you cook every day? It depends. Now listen to the fuller answer. It depends on how much time I have. If I finish work early, I usually cook something fresh. The second response explains the condition, so it feels complete. Repeat after me. It depends on how much time I have. Now this one, it depends on who I'm with. Imagine I ask, do you prefer quiet weekends? You could say, it depends on who I'm with. Alone. I like a quiet weekend, but with close friends, I enjoy going out. Your turn. Do you prefer making plans early or deciding at the last minute? Begin with it depends. Name the condition and compare two situations clearly. That small structure can turn a hesitant answer into a real conversation. Good. Now let's make that skill easier to feel. We'll use the same question 3 times, like climbing a small staircase. Here is the question. What do you usually do after work? First, answer with 3 words. I go home. Your turn. Say it now. That answer is correct, and sometimes it is enough. But let's take one more step. I usually go home after work. It is still simple, but now it sounds more complete. One more step. I usually go home after work. I make something to eat, and then I take a short walk to clear my head. Notice the difference. The answer is longer, but it is not complicated. You are simply adding one clear layer at a time, the direct answer, one detail, and one personal reason or result. Let's try another question. Do you enjoy learning new skills? Start with 3 words. Yes, I do. Now expand it. Yes, I do. I enjoy learning new skills. And now connect 3 sentences. Yes, I do. I enjoy learning new skills because they keep life interesting. Recently, I've been trying to improve my cooking. Your answer does not need to sound perfect. It needs to give the other person somewhere to go next. If you mention cooking, they can ask, what do you like to cook? Let's practice with a quick interview. I'll ask, and you answer before I respond. First question: what is one habit that helps you have a better day? Maybe you said, I plan my morning. That is a good start. You could expand it. I plan my morning because it helps me feel less rushed. I usually write down the 2 things I need to finish first. That answer feels personal, but it is still easy to say. Now, what about you? What is one habit that helps you? Second question: do you make decisions quickly? You might answer, it depends on the situation. Good. Now continue. It depends on the situation. I decide quickly when the choice is small, but I take more time when it affects my future. That is a strong answer because you gave both conditions. You did not hide behind it depends. You explained what it depends on. Here is the next question. What is your favorite time of day? You could say, I'd say early morning. Then add, I'd say early morning because everything feels quiet. I can think more clearly before the day becomes busy. If you want to keep the conversation moving, add, what about you? That short question invites the other person to share. One more. Is speaking English difficult for you? You might say, I'm not really sure, but speaking quickly can be difficult. Then add, I understand a lot, but I sometimes need a moment to organize my answer. That is honest, natural, and clear. You do not need to pretend that everything is easy. You only need to express the truth one layer at a time. So remember the staircase. Answer the question, add a reason, add a detail, and return the question when it feels natural. Longer does not mean more formal. It means more connected. You can now build an answer step by step. So let's test that skill where conversations often begin. Ordinary small talk. Imagine you're in a cafe when someone looks around and says, it's busier than usual today. You could answer, yeah, it really is. But that response closes the door a little. Instead, agree, add a detail, and show interest. Yeah, it really is. Maybe everyone is working from home today. Did you manage to find a seat? You're not performing. You're simply noticing the moment together. Let's try that pattern again. I say, it's finally stopped raining. How would you respond? You might say, it has, thankfully. I was beginning to forget what the sun looked like. Are you heading somewhere or just enjoying the weather? That small comment adds warmth and personality. Now respond to this. The traffic was terrible this morning. React. Add one detail and ask me a question. Here's one possibility. I know. It took me nearly an hour to get here. Were you caught in it too? In this context, I know means I understand, and I had the same experience. Small talk often begins with something both people can see, hear, or feel: the weather, traffic, a cue, the food, or the room. That helps you think in English because you don't have to invent a topic from nothing. At work, a new colleague might ask, "Did you have a good weekend?" Don't stop at, "Yes, it was nice." Try, "Yes, it was nice. I went for a long walk on Sunday. What about you?" Say, "What about you?" warmly, as if you truly want the answer. Now I'll ask you, what did you do last weekend? Give a short answer, add one real detail, and return the question. You could say, "I stayed home and cooked something new. It took longer than expected, but it turned out well." How about you? A genuine detail gives the other person a path forward. Let's make it less predictable. I'm your new colleague, and I say, "I heard the food here is excellent." What would you say? Perhaps, "To be honest, I've only tried the sandwiches, but they're pretty good. Have you eaten here before?" If you're uncertain, say, "I'm not really sure, but the soup smells amazing." You don't need complete knowledge to participate. You can buy time naturally with, "That's a good question," or "Let me think for a second." These phrases keep you connected while your next thought arrives. And what if you misunderstand? Suppose I say, "I'm still getting used to the new schedule." You can calmly ask, "Sorry, did you say the new schedule?" That isn't failure. Real communication includes checking, repeating, and adjusting. Your goal isn't to catch every sound perfectly. It's to keep the connection alive. If a topic becomes difficult, say, "I see what you mean." How has that been for you? You gain a moment to think while showing that you're still listening. Words like "actually," "it depends," and "the thing is" can organize your response too. They help you continue instead of freezing while searching for a perfect sentence. When the conversation slows, open another door. Speaking of food, have you tried the cafe across the street? Small talk isn't a fixed script. It's a chain of small openings, and you only need enough English to open the next one. Sometimes you do not need a new topic. The next opening can come from something you both notice. Imagine you are standing beside a new colleague in the office cafe. I say, "It's busier than usual today." You answer, "Yeah, it is." That answer is correct, but it closes the door. Add an observation, "Yeah, it is. Everyone seems to be getting coffee before the meeting." Then return your attention to me. Do you usually come here? Hear the movement? You agree. Add a detail and ask a natural question. Let's try it. The weather has been strange this week. Respond with agreement, one detail, and a question. You could say, "I know. It was sunny this morning, but now it looks like rain. Did you bring an umbrella?" That sounds natural because You stay close to your shared surroundings. You do not search through your entire vocabulary or translate a perfect speech. Here is another one. My commute was surprisingly easy today. Perhaps you respond, "That's nice." Was the train less crowded? Or, with more personality, "Really? That never happens to me on Mondays." Which version sounds more like you? There is no perfect answer. You might also say, "I'd say the traffic was lighter than usual." What about you? Still, "What about you?" is not a magic phrase. It should express genuine interest, not appear automatically at the end of every answer. If someone says, "I tried a new restaurant last night," ask, "How was it?" After listening, add, "I'd like to try it sometime." Do you cook much yourself? Exactly. The question changes with the conversation. You are not simply returning a phrase. You are returning attention. Let's do a mini role play. I'm your new colleague. Hi, I'm Daniel. I just joined the marketing team. How has your morning been? Answer aloud with one detail. It's been good. I had a busy start, but I finally have time for coffee. I reply, same here. I'm still getting used to the office layout. What would you ask? Try. Which part are you still getting used to? I answer, the meeting rooms. I thought room 3 was on this floor. Now react, oh, I see what you mean. I made the same mistake yesterday. Then shift gently. By the way, have you tried the lunch place across the street? That exchange felt human, didn't it? It had curiosity, uncertainty, a reaction, and a smooth topic change. Real conversations are rarely planned word for word. Small talk feels difficult because the language is simple, but the emotional pressure is real. You may think, what if I sound boring? What if I make a mistake? To be honest, curiosity matters more than performance. Notice something, respond sincerely, and offer one small opening. Familiar topics help, but real fluency also means staying calm when you are not really sure what to say. Trust that one honest response can keep the conversation moving. And that calm, honest response becomes even more important when someone asks you a question you cannot answer with confidence. Here is one many people would hesitate over. Do you think people will work fewer hours in the future? You do not need a perfect prediction. You can begin with, I'm not really sure, but I think technology may give people more flexibility. At the same time, some companies may expect people to be available all day. Notice what happened there. Uncertainty did not stop the answer. It opened the door to a thoughtful opinion. Now you try. Do you think people will work fewer hours in the future? Begin with, I'm not really sure, but then add one idea. Do not translate every word. Let the frame carry you forward. Maybe you said, "I'm not really sure, but I think working hours will become more flexible." That is already a complete, natural response. You can also say, "I haven't looked into it, but..." This tells the listener that you do not have detailed information while still allowing you to share a thought. For example, "I haven't looked into it, but I've noticed that more people are working remotely." Another useful phrase is, "As far as I know." Use it when you want to be careful about the accuracy of what you are saying. "As far as I know, the company is planning to open a new office." You are not pretending to know everything. You are simply sharing what you understand. And if your idea is more personal, try, My impression is." My impression is that people want more freedom, but they still care about financial security. That sounds much more natural than filling the space with, maybe, and "I don't know" again and again. There is nothing wrong with thinking. The problem is empty hesitation. Natural hesitation has a direction. It gives your mind a moment, and then it leads to meaning. So, when someone asks you a difficult opinion question, you can say, "That's a good question. Let me think for a second." But remember, Emma is asking you to follow that phrase with a real attempt. Do not use it as a way to escape. Let's practice with a quick response drill. You will hear a question, and you will have only a few seconds to begin your answer. What makes a city a good place to live? Start now. That's a good question. Let me think for a second. You might continue. I'd say safety is important, but good public transport matters too. Here is another one. Is it better to study alone or with other people? You can say, "It depends. I usually study alone, but I learn faster when I can discuss difficult ideas." That answer is not absolute, and it does not need to be. "It depends" gives you room to explain. One more question. Would you like to live in another country? Try, "I could be wrong, but I think I'd enjoy the experience." The thing is, "I might miss my family." Beautiful. You gave an opinion, added a reason, and showed a little honesty. That is how uncertainty keeps a conversation alive. And notice what happened there. You did not stop because you were uncertain. You used uncertainty as a bridge to a real answer. Now let's practice another useful skill: correcting yourself without sounding abrupt. In real conversations, you will sometimes make an assumption, then realize it is not quite right. Imagine someone says, "So you grew up in this city?" You might answer, "Actually, I moved here 2 years ago." Say it with me. Actually, I moved here 2 years ago. Good. Actually does not have to sound like a sharp correction. Your tone can make it gentle, especially when you continue with a little more information. For example, "Actually, I moved here 2 years ago, but I've started to feel at home. Now imagine someone misunderstands your opinion. They say, "So you think remote work is always better?" You can respond, "Actually, that isn't quite what I meant." Repeat that. "Actually, that isn't quite what I meant." Then clarify. "I think it works well for some people, but not for everyone." This is much smoother than simply saying, "No, you're wrong." You correct the idea, but you also protect the conversation. Let's try a short challenge. I'll give you an assumption, and you will correct it politely. Ready? You don't enjoy cooking because you always order food. Begin with actually. You could say, "Actually, I enjoy cooking, but I don't have much time during the week." Here is another one. You must know this neighborhood very well. Try it now. Actually, I've only lived here for a few months, but I'm beginning to discover some good places. Excellent. You did not pretend to know everything. You gave a partial answer, and that was enough to remain helpful. Let's use that skill in a mini role play. I'll ask for a recommendation, but you do not know the place very well. Do not freeze. Give me what you know, and be honest about the limits. Emma, I'm visiting your town this weekend. Is there a good place to have coffee? You might say, "I'm not really sure, but there's a small cafe near the library. I haven't been there recently, though." Then add, "My impression is that it's quiet, and I think they have good pastries." Notice the balance. You offered a useful suggestion without pretending it was a perfect recommendation. Let's continue. I ask, "Is it expensive?" You can answer, "It depends. I'd say the coffee is reasonably priced, but I'm not sure about the food." That answer sounds natural because it is specific, cautious, and still useful. You are not required to know every detail before you speak. One final response. I ask, "Would you recommend it?" Try saying, "I could be wrong, but I think it's worth trying if you want somewhere quiet." Beautiful. You kept the conversation moving with honest language, and you did not apologize for not knowing everything. Uncertainty does not have to end a conversation, and neither does disagreement when you know how to make it gentle. Next, we'll practice that balance when someone has a different opinion from yours. And disagreement becomes easier when you remember that you do not have to attack the person. You only need to respond to the idea. Here is a familiar opinion. Working under pressure always makes people more productive. What would you say? Do not answer too quickly. First, acknowledge the point. You might begin, "I see what you mean." Now add your difference. "I see what you mean, but I'm not sure I completely agree." That sounds calm because you are not rejecting the other person immediately. You are showing that you listened before you explained yourself. Try the full response with me. I see what you mean, but I'm not sure I completely agree. Good. Now let's make it more personal and natural. That's true in some cases, but the way I see it, too much pressure can make people anxious and less focused. Notice the structure. First, you acknowledge. Then you identify the difference. After that, you explain briefly. You do not need a 10-minute speech to disagree well. Let's try another one. I say, people should answer messages immediately. You could say, that's true in some cases, but I think people also need time away from their phones. What could you add at the end to keep the conversation open? Try, what about you? Or how do you see it? Exactly. Respectful disagreement is not a wall. It is an open door with a different opinion standing inside it. Now let's use a real-life topic. I'll take one side, and I want you to challenge me. I say, phones have improved social life because they help us stay connected with people who live far away. Your turn. Start with, I see what you mean, but. Give me one reason phones might damage social life. Maybe you said, I see what you mean, but phones can stop people from paying attention to each other in person. That is a strong response. Now I'll answer your point. That's true in some cases, but without phones, many friendships would become difficult to maintain. How would you continue? You might say, that makes sense. But staying connected online is not the same as having a real conversation. Beautiful. You accepted part of my argument without giving up your own position. That is an advanced conversation skill. Let's slow down for one useful phrase, to be honest. This phrase can sound open and sincere, but your tone matters. To be honest, I need more time to decide. That sounds thoughtful. To be honest, your idea makes no sense. That sounds unnecessarily harsh. So use the phrase to introduce your honest view, not to make the other person feel small. Repeat, to be honest. I see it differently. Again, with a warm voice, to be honest, I see it differently, but I understand your point. Now think about a disagreement you had recently. Maybe it was about work, money, family, or a difficult decision. Can you restate your position more gently in English? You could begin, I understand why you feel that way. The way I see it, though. That sentence keeps the connection while making room for a difference. Remember, disagreement is not connection versus difference. It is connection plus difference. And sometimes the problem is not that you disagree. Sometimes you simply did not catch what the other person meant. This happens more often than we realize. You may think you are disagreeing, but perhaps you only caught half of the message or misunderstood the intention behind it. Imagine a colleague says, "I thought you were going to send the report yesterday." You might feel blamed and answer quickly, "I did send it." But they may simply mean, "I couldn't find it, so I wanted to check." Before defending yourself, try this, "Sorry. Do you mean you didn't receive it?" You are not accepting blame, and you are not attacking anyone. You are checking the meaning before reacting. Repeat after me, "Sorry. Do you mean that you didn't receive it?" Again, more naturally, "Sorry. Do you mean you didn't receive it?" You can also say, "I'm not sure I understood what you meant. Could you explain that another way?" Or, "Are you saying that the deadline has changed?" These questions clarify the message and give you a few extra seconds to think when fast English makes you nervous. Let's try another situation. Someone says, "You never really listen when I talk about work." That sounds emotional, doesn't it? Instead of reacting with, "That's not fair," you could say, "I'm sorry it feels that way." Are you saying, "I haven't been giving you enough attention"? The person might answer, "Yes. I started telling you about my new project, but you kept looking at your phone." Now the real issue is clearer. You could respond, "I see what you mean. I was distracted, but I should have put my phone away." Did you notice the sequence? First, you clarified the meaning. Then, you acknowledged the part that was true. That is not surrendering, and it is not fighting back. It is responding carefully. Your turn. Someone says, "You seem much less interested in this than I am." How could you answer without becoming defensive? Try, "I'm not sure I completely understand. Do you mean I'm not contributing enough, or that I don't support the idea?" That is a strong advanced response because it separates two possible meanings. You are not guessing. You are asking for precision. Repeat, "I'm not sure I completely understand. Could you clarify what you mean?" Here is another useful phrase. "Let me make sure I've understood you correctly." For example, "You would prefer to wait until Friday?" You can use this at work, at home, or in a difficult conversation. Keep your voice open. You are not cross-examining the other person. You are showing that their meaning matters to you. Then, once the meaning is clear, you can share your own view. "I see what you mean, but I'd say we should decide today." Think of a recent moment when someone's words hurt you. Did you understand the words correctly, but miss the intention, or were the words themselves unclear? Before you disagree, ask yourself, "What exactly am I responding to?" That small question can prevent a great deal of unnecessary tension. In natural conversation, clarity comes before argument. Understand the message, respond to the idea, and explain your position with care. That is how you disagree without breaking the connection. And when the meaning is still unclear, the next skill is not arguing. It is repairing the conversation in real time. Many learners make the same mistake here. They miss one sentence, pretend they understood, and then become more lost 3 sentences later. You do not have to hide confusion to sound advanced. In fact, confident speakers protect shared meaning. They ask for clarification before the conversation moves too far away. Let's practice 4 natural repair phrases. The first is, "Sorry, I didn't catch the last part." Use it when you understood most of the message but missed the ending. For example, someone says, "We can send the revised version by Thursday afternoon, depending on the client's feedback." You could say, "Sorry, I didn't catch the last part. Did you say the deadline depends on the client?" Notice the tone. You are not saying, "You spoke too quickly." You are simply identifying the part you missed. The second phrase is, "Do you mean?" This is useful when you have an idea, but you want to check it. Do you mean we should wait before making a final decision? Say it with an open voice, not a doubtful or angry voice. You are checking the message, not challenging the person. The third phrase is, "Could you say that another way?" Use this when you heard the words, but the meaning is still difficult to follow. And the fourth is more specific. When you say flexible, what exactly do you mean? This is powerful because it focuses on one word that may have several meanings. Let's put these into a workplace situation. Imagine your manager is speaking quickly about a project deadline. The client has moved the launch forward, so let's aim to have the final version ready by Wednesday, although we may need to stay flexible if the testing takes longer than expected. Now, do not translate every word. Catch the main message first. What changed? The launch moved earlier. What is the target? Wednesday. What is uncertain? The testing. If you are not sure, say, "Sorry, I didn't catch the last part." When you say flexible, what exactly do you mean? I might answer, "I mean Wednesday is our target, but if testing reveals a serious problem, we may need to adjust the deadline." Now you can confirm, so Wednesday is the goal, but the date could change if testing finds a major issue. Exactly. That final check protects both people. You recover the message, and you make the plan simpler in your own mind. Your turn. Listen to this connected sentence. "We're gonna need the numbers by the end of the day." You may hear, "We're gonna need the numbers." What is missing? By the end of the day. Now ask naturally, "Sorry, did you say you need the numbers today?" Good. The repair question is often faster than silently translating an incomplete message. Ask once. Recover the meaning. and stay with the conversation. Now shadow the corrected line with me. We're gonna need the numbers by the end of the day. Again, keep going to connected as gonna and let need the flow together. We're gonna need the numbers by the end of the day. You are not failing because you missed a few words. You are training the exact skill real conversations require. Recovering meaning while the moment is still moving. And once you can recover a missing sentence, the next step is using that skill before the speaker moves too far ahead. In real life, you may need to interrupt politely, especially when a deadline, appointment, or responsibility is involved. Imagine your manager says, "Let's move the client call to Thursday morning and send the revised proposal before then." You are not completely sure about one detail. Is before then referring to Thursday morning or to the original call? Do not smile, nod, and hope the meaning becomes clear later. Say, "Sorry to interrupt. Do you mean the proposal should be sent before Thursday morning?" That sounds calm and professional. You are not apologizing for being incapable. You are protecting the accuracy of the plan. Your manager replies, "Yes, exactly. Please send it by Wednesday afternoon." Now confirm the complete message in your own words. Got it. The client call is Thursday morning, and I'll send the revised proposal by Wednesday afternoon. Notice what you did. You interrupted once, checked one detail, and repeated the final plan. That is a complete repair. Let's try it together. I'll speak quickly. We'll probably go with the second option, unless the finance team comes back with a different figure. What could you clarify? Maybe you are unsure about comes back with a different figure. Ask, "Sorry, do you mean the decision depends on the finance team's numbers?" Good. That question is useful because it checks the relationship between the two ideas, not just one isolated word. Now listen for connected speech. The finance team's gonna get back to us tomorrow. You may hear team's gonna as one fast sound. Do not panic and translate every piece. Use the situation to make a first guess. It probably means the finance team will reply tomorrow. If you are still unsure, ask, "Did you say they'll get back to us tomorrow?" That short question gives the other person an easy way to confirm or correct you. Now shadow the full line. The finance team's gonna get back to us tomorrow. Again, the finance team's gonna get back to us tomorrow. Keep the rhythm moving instead of stressing every word equally. Here is your final mini role play. I'll give you the instruction, and you repair it. Let's share the update with the regional team next week, after we've had a chance to review the feedback. Interrupt politely. "Sorry, do you mean we should wait until after the feedback review?" The answer is yes. Now repeat the plan. "Okay, we'll review the feedback first, Then share the update with the regional team next week. That is how confidence sounds. Not perfect understanding every second, but the willingness to recover meaning and keep participating. And this matters even more when several people are speaking quickly, because group decisions ask you to recover the message and respond before the moment moves on. And when a group decision is moving quickly, the goal is not to remember every word. The goal is to catch the direction, notice the change, and respond before the moment moves on. Let's put that skill into a real weekend plan. Imagine a friend says, "We could meet at the station around 9. Take the train to Brighton, grab lunch near the beach, and come back before it gets too late." Now listen for the important points: where, when, and what the main plan is. You do not need to hold every detail in your memory. The plan is Brighton by train, meeting at 9, with lunch near the beach. Say it once in your own words. Good. But now the weather forecast changes. Your friend says, "It might rain in the afternoon. So how about meeting a little earlier and visiting the museum first?" Quickly choose a response. You could say, "I'm fine with that," or "That works for me." Repeat, "That works for me." If you want to add a reason, say, "That works for me. We'll avoid the rain." Notice the pattern. Short answer first, reason second. Let's try another one. How about meeting at 11 instead? We could always stay later if the weather improves. Your quick response: "I'd rather start early." Now make it longer. "I'd rather start early because I don't want to rush." Maybe you prefer a late start. That is fine too. Say, "I'd rather start later. I need a quiet morning." The important thing is not choosing the perfect answer. It is making a clear choice without translating every sentence in your head. Here is a more realistic question. Would you choose an early start or a late return? Your answer should begin with, "It depends." For example, "It depends. If the weather is good, I'd choose an early start. If it's raining, I'd rather return early." That is natural thinking. You are not searching for one universal opinion. You are connecting your choice to the situation. Now add another useful phrase. The thing is. Try this. The thing is, I have to be home by 6. So I'd rather leave early. Listen to how the phrase gives you time while you explain your decision. The thing is. It sounds thoughtful, not hesitant. Let's build the plan again. The train leaves at 9:30. The cafe opens at 10. And one friend wants to meet downtown instead of at the station. What would you suggest? Start with "how about." Say, "How about meeting downtown and taking the next train together?" Excellent. And if that train is too late, say, "We could always meet at the station after all." Keep your response moving. A plan can change while you are still speaking, and you can change with it. That flexibility is a major part of real conversation. And if the next train is too late, you can adjust again without stopping the conversation. Let's make the change quickly. The cafe you wanted is full. Acknowledge it first. Oh, I see. That's a shame. Now suggest an alternative. How about trying the cafe across the street? Then confirm, that works for me. Your turn. The cafe is full. Say your response now. Good. Notice the order: react, suggest, confirm. You do not need a perfect sentence before you speak. You need a useful next sentence. Now the train is delayed by 20 minutes. Start with, actually, the train is delayed. Then say, we could always take the bus. Add a reason if you can. It may be faster. Try the full response. Actually, the train is delayed, so we could always take the bus. That works for me. Did you feel that small pressure to translate? Let it go. You already know the situation, so answer from the situation, not from your first language. One more change. A friend cannot come anymore. You might say, I see what you mean. Let's keep the plan simple. Or, that's okay. We can meet just the two of us. Which one sounds more natural to you? Choose quickly. Both work. Real conversation often gives you several good answers. You are not taking a grammar test. You are keeping the plan alive. Now imagine rain begins while you are walking to the station. Say, the thing is, it's starting to rain. Then make a decision. I'd rather meet somewhere indoors. Add a suggestion. How about the bookstore cafe? Put it together. The thing is, it's starting to rain, so I'd rather meet somewhere indoors. How about the bookstore cafe? Excellent. Listen to how the plan moved. The cafe was full. The train was delayed. Your friend canceled. And then the weather changed. You did not need to panic. You simply acknowledged each change and chose the next step. Let's do a final quick response ladder. I'll give you the situation, and you answer in 1 or 2 sentences. The original cafe is full. What do you say? Now the bus is crowded. Respond with a different option. The friend who knows the area cannot come. Keep the plan going. Rain starts, and everyone is getting tired. Choose a comfortable final plan. Very good. In real life, people often change their minds while they are still explaining them. You may hear, I was thinking we could go downtown, but actually, it might be easier to stay nearby. That is not confusion. That is natural thinking out loud. Now create one spontaneous plan in your own words. Include a time, a place, one possible problem, and a final choice. Begin with, how about? Give yourself a few seconds. but do not translate every word. Let the idea come together in English. Plans move quickly, but stories move differently. They carry you through time, emotion, and small details that may not all be equally important. Next, we'll practice following a story at natural speed and noticing what really matters. Stories move quickly, but they usually leave clues behind. I'll tell you a short story about an important morning, and I want you to listen for 3 things: where the problem began, how the speaker felt, and what finally solved it. At first, everything seemed fine. I left home early because I had a job interview across town. I checked the bus number, got on, and found a seat near the window. A few minutes later, I noticed that the streets looked unfamiliar. I checked my phone, and my stomach dropped. I was on the wrong bus. Before I continue, ask yourself, where did the problem begin? It began when I got on the wrong bus, not when I discovered it. And how did I feel? Worried, rushed, and probably a little embarrassed. The bus was already moving away from the city center. By the time I got off, I had only 20 minutes left before the interview. I thought, that's it. I'm going to be late. But then I saw a taxi waiting near the corner. I explained the situation, and the driver said he knew a faster route. It turned out that the next bus had been delayed, so taking the taxi was actually the best choice. In the end, I arrived just 2 minutes before the interview. I was out of breath, but I made it. The interviewer smiled and said, "You're right on time." Notice the phrases that guided you. At first, a few minutes later, by the time, it turned out, and in the end. These expressions create a map. Even if you miss one detail, the map helps you follow the story. Let's hear it again. Faster, more like natural conversation. Listen only for the turning point, the moment when the situation changed. At first, I thought I was doing everything right. I left early, checked the bus number, and got on. A few minutes later, though, I realized the streets didn't look familiar. I checked my phone and thought, oh no, I'm on the wrong bus. The turning point was seeing the taxi. That changed the story from, I'm going to be late, to maybe I can still make it. Now shadow these 2 lines. Oh no, I'm on the wrong bus. Maybe I can still make it. Say them with feeling. The first line carries surprise and worry. The second carries a little hope. In connected speech, I'm on the wrong bus may sound smooth and quick, but the important words are still clear. Wrong bus. Now repeat the final sentence with matching stress. In the end, I arrived just 2 minutes before the interview. Stress in the end, 2 minutes, and arrived. Those words show the outcome. Your turn to retell the story. Use fewer details. Begin with, I got on the wrong bus, but. Keep the sequence clear and let the signal phrases help you. Have you ever realized you were going the wrong way? If yes, start with yes, once I. If not, say no, but I remember a time when. Add what happened next. Here's a final challenge. I got off the bus, saw a closed station, and noticed my phone had only 5% battery left. What do you think happened next? Maybe I asked someone for directions. Maybe I called a friend. Maybe I found another bus. There is not only one correct ending. What matters is that you follow the turning point and predict the outcome. And remember, a story is more than a sequence of events. Often, the speaker's real message is hidden in how those events are described. Storytelling becomes more interesting when you listen not only to what happened, but also to how the speaker felt about it. Compare these versions. I got on the wrong bus, checked my phone, and got off at the next stop. Now listen, I somehow got on the wrong bus, watched the minutes disappear, and jumped off at the next stop. The events are similar, but the feeling changes. The second version suggests stress, worry, and frustration. So when you hear a fast story, ask 2 questions. What happened? And how does the speaker feel? Are they amused, embarrassed, annoyed, relieved, or disappointed? Listen to this. At first, I thought I had plenty of time. A few minutes later, I realized the bus was going the wrong way. In the end, I made it. But honestly, I never want to repeat that morning. The speaker is nervous first, relieved later, and slightly humorous. The sentence about never repeating that morning reveals the real reaction. Now hear the hidden message in this line. Well, that was one way to start an important day. Does the speaker sound completely happy? Probably not. The words sound light, but they suggest a stressful or ridiculous morning. Native speakers often use this indirect style. Here is another example. I suppose getting there eventually counts as a success. Success sounds positive, but eventually may suggest disappointment. Notice the contrast instead of translating every word. Let's practice a quick response. I say, I missed one train, lost my wallet, and arrived an hour late. You might answer, that sounds stressful. Or, oh no, what happened next? Now try this. I took the wrong bus, but someone helped me find the interview building. You could say, at least something good came from it. Or, that worked out better than expected. These reactions show that you are following the meaning. 9. Not just waiting for familiar words. In real conversation, that skill matters more than catching every detail. Let's continue the story. I got off the bus, saw a closed station, and noticed my phone had 5% battery left. For a moment, I thought. Finish it aloud. You might say, I thought I was going to miss the interview, or I thought the whole morning was ruined. Both answers capture the turning point. Now add an ending. But then a woman outside the station. Perhaps she gave directions, called a taxi, or pointed toward the right street. The exact ending is not the important part. Follow the emotional movement, confidence, confusion, panic, and finally relief. That movement helps you understand a fast story even when some words disappear. So listen beyond the sequence of events. Notice attitude, exaggeration, hesitation, and implied meaning. The real message may be hiding in the way the story is told. And next, we will explore the meaning behind the words people choose not to say. Sometimes, the meaning is hidden, not in the words people choose, but in the feeling they place inside ordinary words. Listen to this. That was interesting. What does it really mean? Imagine we have just watched a surprising film. I lean forward and say, that was interesting. I didn't expect the ending at all. My energy and extra detail suggest genuine enthusiasm. Now imagine you show me an unusual painting. I look at it and say, that was interesting. The hesitation may show uncertainty. Perhaps I do not know whether I like it, but I want to respond politely. One more version. We leave a disappointing presentation, and I quietly say, well, that was interesting. The word well, my restrained tone, and the situations may suggest disappointment. I might really mean that did not go as well as I hoped. Repeat after me and let your voice carry 3 different intentions. First, sound genuinely impressed. That was interesting. Now sound politely uncertain. That was interesting. Finally, sound disappointed but controlled. Well, that was interesting. The words barely changed, yet the message moved. At an advanced level, you are listening for that movement. You are not only asking, what words did I hear? You are also asking, what feeling is underneath them? Let's try a real-life situation. A friend says, we're having dinner on Friday. You should come. You answer, I'll have to think about it. What might you feel? And what do you want to happen next? You may be busy, unsure, or simply unwilling to commit yet. Sometimes it is a gentle way to avoid saying no. In other situations, you genuinely need time to decide. So do not turn the phrase into a fixed rule. The relationship, the tone, and what happens afterward all matter. Imagine your friend asks, is everything okay? You reply, actually, yes. I just need to check whether I'm working that evening. Now the uncertainty sounds practical rather than emotional. Shadow the whole response with me. I'll have to think about it. Actually, I just need to check whether I'm working that evening. Keep the rhythm smooth and do not translate each word. Here is another situation. A colleague looks at your report and says, "You might want to check that again." Is it a casual suggestion? Or have they noticed a real problem? If they point to one number and speak carefully, they probably want you to correct something before the report is shared. You might hear the phrase as, "There is definitely a mistake." I see what you mean, because people often soften criticism. But there is another possibility. Your colleague may not be completely certain either. They may simply want you to verify the information. That makes sense too. Strong listeners can hold both possibilities until the next detail makes the intention clearer. Your natural response could be, "Thanks for noticing. I'll check it now." Repeat that. "Thanks for noticing. I'll check it now." Notice that you do not need to argue or apologize too quickly. You respond to the likely intention. The speaker wants you to look again. Now listen to a more personal sentence. "It's not exactly what I expected." Before deciding what it means, ask yourself, what happened? How close are these people? And which words does the speaker emphasize? Those questions will help you hear the message behind the sentence. Imagine that a family is choosing where to spend a holiday. Everyone seems excited about renting a house by the sea, but one person says, "It's not exactly what I expected." What do they probably feel? Perhaps the house is smaller than it looked online. Perhaps they are disappointed, but they do not want to ruin the family's excitement. Now listen to what comes next. "It's not exactly what I expected, but the view is lovely." That contrast matters. The speaker has a concern, yet they are also trying to notice something positive. What do they want to happen next? They may want the family to discuss the problem, or they may simply need a moment to adjust. You might think, "They definitely want to leave." I see what you mean. Their disappointment could be serious. But the positive comment offers another possibility. They may be willing to stay if everyone else is comfortable. That makes sense, especially in a family decision where people often protect one another's feelings. A caring response would be, "Is there something you're worried about?" Repeat after me. "Is there something you're worried about?" Now make it softer and more natural. "Is there something you're worried about?" Or do you just need a little time? Repeat the whole question. Good. You are not forcing your interpretation onto the speaker. You are creating space for the real meaning to come out. Let's try one final inference challenge. A friend asked Jamie to join a weekend trip. Jamie replied, "I'd love to, but Saturday might be difficult. I could possibly come on Sunday, though." What does Jamie probably feel? What does Jamie want the friend to do next? And which words gave you the strongest clues? I'd love to sounds warm and interested, but introduces the difficulty, while possibly shows that Sunday is not completely certain. Jamie probably does not want a simple yes or no decision yet. The hidden request may be, can we find an option that works? Now shadow me. I'd love to, but Saturday might be difficult. I could possibly come on Sunday, though. Again, let the contrast carry the meaning. I'd love to, but Saturday might be difficult. Quick response. Your friend says that to you. What do you say? You could answer, no problem. Let me know if Sunday works. Or you could say, that makes sense. We can keep Sunday open for now. Notice how your response follows the intention, not only the literal words. You hear interest, uncertainty, and a wish to stay connected. If you were unsure about Jamie's meaning, that is completely normal. Advanced listening is not about guessing perfectly from one sentence. It is about noticing clues, keeping more than one possibility open, and adjusting when new information arrives. Hesitation, emphasis, and contrast often tell you what plain words cannot. And when emotions become stronger, understanding the hidden message matters, but responding with care matters just as much. Imagine a friend says, I didn't get the opportunity I was hoping for. You understand the words, but now your response needs emotional intelligence. You might immediately think, you should apply somewhere else. The advice may be useful, but it arrives too quickly. Your friend may not be ready for a solution yet. A warmer first response would be, I'm sorry to hear that. Or, that must be disappointing. Listen to the difference. You should try again. Move straight to action. That must be disappointing. Stays with the person for a moment. Repeat after me. I'm sorry to hear that. That must be disappointing. Do you want to talk about it? Keep your voice gentle. You are not performing empathy. You are making space for someone to be honest. A helpful response often follows a simple sequence. First, acknowledge the feeling. Then avoid making assumptions. Next, ask whether the person wants to talk. Only after that should you offer an idea if it feels appropriate. Let's hear that sequence in a natural conversation. Your friend says, I really thought I had a good chance. You answer, that must be disappointing. Do you want to talk about what happened? Your friend says, maybe. I'm still trying to understand it. You could say, of course. Take your time. I'm here if you want to talk. Notice what you did not say. You did not say, I know exactly how you feel. You did not assume the reason. You stayed open. Now shadow the full response with me. That must be disappointing. Do you want to talk about what happened? Again, a little more naturally. That must be disappointing. Do you want to talk about what happened? Good. The words are simple, but the timing carries warmth. Now let's make this feel like a living conversation. I'll share something, and you choose how to respond. This week has been stressful. I've had too much to do, and I haven't been sleeping well. What is your first instinct? You could react, ask a question, give advice, or share a similar experience. Say your response aloud now. If you said, "That sounds exhausting," I would probably feel understood. I might answer, "It really has been. I feel as if I can't switch off." If you asked, "Do you want to talk about what's been happening?" I might feel safe enough to explain. I could say, "Yes, I think that would help." If you said, "You need to take a day off," I might appreciate your concern, but I could also feel slightly rushed. I might answer, "Maybe, but it isn't that simple right now." And if you said, "I had a terrible week too," your intention might be kind. Still, I might wonder whether there is room for my experience. So try again, but this time begin with acknowledgement. I'll repeat the situation. This week has been stressful. I've had too much to do, and I haven't been sleeping well. Give me one warm sentence before you ask a question or offer an idea. Perhaps you said, "I'm sorry. That sounds really difficult." If so, I might respond, "Thank you. I've been trying to hold everything together." Now the conversation has opened rather than closed, and your next choice can show whether you are truly listening. Emma, you might now ask, "Would you like to tell me what has been keeping you awake?" Notice how gentle that sounds. It does not assume I want advice. It gives me a choice. Emma, I might answer, "Yes. I'm worried that I'm falling behind at work." What would you say next? Would you react, ask a question, offer advice, or share a similar experience? Try one warm response aloud. "Emma, that's awful," shows concern, "but it may sound stronger than I need." A softer response could be, "What feels most difficult at the moment?" Then I might say, "The thing is, every task feels urgent." Emma, advice can help, but timing matters. Instead of immediately saying, "You should speak to your manager," you could ask, "Would it help to talk through your options?" That gives the other person support without taking control. Emma, you might also connect through your own experience. "To be honest, I've felt like that too." Repeat it with me. To be honest, I've felt like that too. It sounds honest and vulnerable, but not dramatic. It tells the other person, "You are not alone." Emma, now notice what should come next. To be honest, I've felt like that too. What has this week been like for you? Repeat the full response. Your experience creates a bridge, and your question brings the attention back to the other person. Emma, compare that with this. "I've felt like that too. Last year, I had 3 huge projects. My manager kept calling me, and I couldn't sleep for weeks. The story may be relevant, but suddenly the conversation is about me. Connection has quietly turned into competition. Emma, let's shadow a more balanced exchange. Stay close to my rhythm. I've been feeling overwhelmed lately. I'm sorry to hear that. Do you want to talk about it? I think I'm trying to do too much. That makes sense. What could make things feel a little lighter? I'm not really sure, but I may need to ask for help. That sounds like a good place to start. Emma, now respond without a model. Imagine a friend says, I thought I was doing well, but I received some disappointing feedback. Give one supportive answer. Acknowledge the feeling, avoid assumptions, and leave room for your friend to continue. Emma, you do not need perfect words. That must have been hard to hear, can carry real kindness. You could add, what did they say? Or what about you? If the moment feels right. Emma, fluency is not only responding quickly. Sometimes it means staying present when a conversation becomes uncomfortable. A fast answer can fill silence, but a thoughtful answer can help someone feel less alone. Emma, so listen for more than facts. Listen for disappointment, uncertainty, relief, and the quiet request beneath the words. Careful listening gives your English depth. Now we will combine that depth with speed as several ideas begin arriving close together. Real conversations rarely wait for you to catch every sentence, so listen for more than facts. Listen for the direction of the conversation. Imagine 3 friends planning a trip. Lisbon would be easier because we can walk almost everywhere. But Maya found a cheap flight to Athens, and the beaches sound tempting. The problem is, we only have 4 days. What do you think? Don't memorize every word. What is the topic? Travel plans. What is the latest suggestion? Athens. And what is still unresolved? Whether Athens makes sense when they have only 4 days. Did you notice the movement? Lisbon, Athens, beaches. Then back to time. You stay oriented by continually updating the picture. Now another friend says, I see what you mean about Athens, but I'm worried we're choosing it because of one cheap flight. Could we compare the total cost before we decide? What changed? The trip is still the topic, but comparing the total cost is now the newest idea. The decision remains open. That is topic tracking. But how do you enter a fast conversation naturally? Try, can I add something? It works when there is a brief opening and your point connects directly to what was said. You can also say, that reminds me, to introduce a related thought, going back to what you said. Returns to an earlier point, and before we move on, brings attention to something unresolved. The connection matters. That reminds me. My sister visited Athens last year. Feels natural. An unrelated story while everyone is discussing the budget does not. These phrases aren't magic buttons. They work only when you respect the conversation's direction. Let's test that. You hear, "We could take the night train." It may be uncomfortable, but we'd save money on a hotel and arrive early for the walking tour. Give me one reaction, one relevant opinion, and one question. Try it now. You could say, "That makes sense." I'd say saving money could be worth it. But is the train comfortable enough? Excellent. That short answer reacts, contributes, and keeps the exchange moving. You don't need a perfect speech. Now listen for references. The flight is cheaper, but that might not matter if we need 2 extra nights. What does that mean? It means the flight being cheaper. In quick speech, it often points to the latest idea, they to people involved, and the whole thing to a broader situation. Common sense usually helps more than grammar analysis. If someone says, "We missed the connection," and they put us on another flight, they probably means the airline staff. Here's your final challenge. The hotel near the station has poor reviews. The nicer place is farther away, although they offer free bicycles. We could cycle into town, but the weather is uncertain. Before we move on, should comfort or location matter more? Begin with "I'd say" or "actually." Add one opinion and one question. Actually, I'd say comfort matters more if the weather is uncertain. Could we check whether the station area has any better hotels? Well done. You selected what mattered instead of repeating everything. In fast English, selective attention is not a weakness. It is how you stay oriented, respond naturally, and move confidently with the conversation. Confidence grows when you can enter a fast conversation without interrupting its natural flow. Imagine 3 friends planning a trip. One prefers the train, another wants to fly, and someone suggests renting a car. You have an idea, but when should you speak? When you hear a small opening, try, "Can I add something?" Repeat after me. Can I add something? Now complete it. Can I add something? The train would give us more flexibility. Good. It sounds polite and relevant, but timing matters. If someone is explaining an important point, wait another moment. What if the conversation gives you a related idea? Say, "That reminds me." For example, "That reminds me, we still need travel insurance." Your turn. Begin with "That reminds me" and add a travel detail. Keep the connection clear, or the group may lose direction. To return to an earlier idea, use "going back to what you said." Listen. Going back to what you said about the hotel, Is breakfast included? And when the group is leaving a question unresolved, step in with, "Before we move on." Try this. Before we move on, who is actually booking the tickets? Can you hear the difference? One phrase adds an idea, one creates a connection, one returns to an earlier point, and one keeps an important question alive. Let's test everything in a faster stream. Listen for the latest suggestion and the decision that still needs to be made. The morning flight is cheaper, but we would need to leave before 5. Maya suggested the evening train. It arrives late, though, so we might need to rent a car from the station. Are we prioritizing cost or convenience? Respond now with one reaction, one opinion, and one question. Don't translate. Speak from the meaning you caught. You could say, "That makes sense." I'd say, "Convenience matters more because we're arriving late." What time does the rental office close? Notice how that points back to the evening train. You did not need to analyze every word. Recent context and ordinary knowledge kept you oriented. Ready for another one? Leo can drive, but his car is small. Nina offered hers, although it needs servicing. The whole thing could become expensive, so perhaps the train is simpler. What do you think? Start with actually. Then give your reaction, opinion, and question. Actually, the train sounds less stressful. I'd say we should compare the total cost first. How much would the car service be? That was concise, relevant, and connected to the unresolved decision. In a rapid conversation, that is more useful than a perfect but delayed answer. If you miss a detail, don't panic. Quietly ask yourself, what are they discussing now? What was the latest suggestion? What still needs an answer? Those 3 questions can bring you back into the conversation even when ideas arrive quickly. You have now practiced reference tracking, natural turn entry, reaction phrases, and spontaneous responses. Take that confidence with you. Next, we'll combine these skills inside longer real-life conversations that keep moving, just like the English you hear beyond the classroom. Let's bring those skills into a conversation that keeps changing while you are inside it. Listen for the situation first, not every individual word. You're at work, and I'm checking on a project. Hi, do you have a quick update on the client presentation? Respond now. Give me one clear sentence about your progress. You might say, "Actually, the main slides are ready, but I'm still checking the final figures." Good. Now the priority changes. The thing is, the client wants to see the budget first. So, could you finish that section before the design? React quickly, then clarify the deadline. Try it without translating. A natural response would be, "That makes sense." Just to clarify, Do you need the budget section by the end of today? Yes, by 5 if possible. Do you think that's realistic? Explain one concern, but keep moving toward a solution. To be honest, 5 might be difficult because I'm waiting for 2 numbers from finance. I'd say 6 is more realistic. All right, send me the confirmed figures at 6 and share the draft numbers before 5. Confirm your next action in one short sentence. Got it. I'll send the draft before 5 and confirm everything by 6. Notice the pattern. You reacted, clarified, raised a concern, suggested a realistic plan, and confirmed it. That is fluent communication, even if the language is simple. Let's hear the key exchange again at a comfortable, natural speed. Could you finish the budget section before the design? That makes sense. Just to clarify, do you need it by 5? Yes. Is that realistic? To be honest, 6 would be more realistic. Shadow that exchange with me. Stay close to my rhythm and let the words connect naturally. Could you finish the budget section before the design? That makes sense. Just to clarify, do you need it by 5? Yes. Is that realistic? To be honest, 6 would be more realistic. Now with tighter linking. Could you finish the budget section before the design? That makes sense. Just to clarify, do you need it by 5? Yeah. Is that realistic? To be honest, 6'd be more realistic. What was the final plan? Summarize it in your own words, then add one spontaneous response about whether you think the plan is fair. Now let's move from deadlines to something warmer. You meet a friend you haven't seen for a long time. It's so good to see you. What have you been up to? You could answer, that's a good question. To be honest, work has kept me busy, but I've also started learning how to cook. What about you? I've been busy too. Actually, I moved to a new neighborhood a few months ago, and I'm still getting used to it. Oh, really? How are you finding it so far? Shadow the exchange, but listen to the feeling as well as the words. What have you been up to? That's a good question. To be honest, work has kept me busy. What about you? Again, with more connection. What have you been up to? That's a good question. To be honest, work's kept me busy. What about you? Your turn now. Answer with real information from your life, even if it is ordinary. Start with, that's a good question. Add one honest detail, and return the question with, what about you? Ordinary details create natural conversation. A new routine, a difficult week, or a small personal goal can give the other person something genuine to respond to. Keep that same honest, flexible energy as we move into a situation with a little more pressure. You arrive at a hotel, but the receptionist cannot find your reservation. Your first reaction may be frustration, yet calm English will help you solve the problem faster. I'm sorry, but I can't find a reservation under that name. Respond quickly. I see what you mean. Could you check under my email address instead? I've checked the email too, and nothing is coming up. Do you have a confirmation number? You do not need a perfect answer. Choose a direction and speak. Actually, I have the confirmation email on my phone. Would it help if I showed it to you? Yes, please. The thing is, your booking appears to be for tomorrow, not tonight. That is unexpected. Take 1 second, then respond without translating. You might say, "Oh, I'm not really sure how that happened. Do you have any rooms available tonight?" We have one room, but it has 2 single beds rather than 1 double bed. What would you say? Accept it, ask about the price, or request another option. Here is one natural response that could work. It depends on the price. Would the rate be the same? Repeat after me. Could you check under my email address? Would it help if I showed you the confirmation? Do you have anything else available? Now solve the whole problem in your own words. Clarify the mistake, request an alternative, and respond to the room with 2 single beds. Let's raise the speed. First, hear the outcome at a comfortable, natural pace. The reservation was for the wrong date, but the hotel had another room available, so the guest asked whether the price would be the same. Summarize it in 1 sentence. What went wrong, and what solution did they find? Now hear it with tighter connections. The reservation was for the wrong date, but the hotel had another room available, so the guest asked whether the price would be the same. Do not chase every sound. Catch the situation, wrong date, another room. Check the price. Give one spontaneous response as the guest. You could begin with, "That makes sense," "Actually," or "The thing is." Let's mix the earlier situations together. At work, the deadline changes. With a friend, you share what you have been doing. At the hotel, your booking is missing. I will name a situation. You react immediately with one useful sentence. Work deadline changed. Friend asks, "What have you been up to?" Receptionist says, "I can't find your reservation." Good. Now expand each response with one detail. I can adjust the schedule, but I'm concerned about testing. To be honest, I've been focusing on my health. Could you check the confirmation number instead? This is the pattern behind real-life fluency. Catch the situation, react, choose a simple direction, and add detail only when it is useful. Fast English becomes less frightening when you stop treating it like a puzzle with one perfect answer. Meaning comes first, and your response can begin small. You have used these tools with support. Now the conversation will give you more freedom and ask you to trust your own English. Now let's move from short answers into a real conversation. I'll give you time to respond aloud, and I'll follow your ideas as they develop. Imagine you're considering a meaningful lifestyle change. Maybe you want to move to a new city, change careers, reduce your screen time, or take your health more seriously. What change are you thinking about? And why does it matter to you? Start with one sentence, "I'd like to." Now make it longer. Explain what led you to this decision. You could say, "To be honest, I've been feeling stuck, and I think a change would give me more energy." What might be difficult about it? Don't search for a perfect answer. Begin naturally with, "The thing is," for example, "The thing is, I'm worried about losing stability." That sounds clear, personal, and natural. Now imagine a close friend disagrees. They say, "You should stay where you are. Changing your life now seems too risky." Respond aloud with, "I see what you mean, but..." Then explain your reason. You might say, "I see what you mean, but staying comfortable has its own risks. I've been thinking about this for a long time." Notice what you're doing. You acknowledge the other person without giving up your own opinion. Let's make the disagreement stronger. Someone says, "If a situation is making you unhappy, shouldn't you act quickly?" How would you respond? Try this. "It depends. Acting quickly may be useful, but I'd still want to understand the consequences." That answer is respectful, but it is not weak. You can disagree calmly. Now imagine you feel less certain. Use the phrase, "I'm not really sure, but..." Complete it honestly. Maybe you say, "I'm not really sure, but I know I can't continue exactly as I have been." You don't need every answer before you speak. What would other people say about your decision? Would they support you, worry about you, or say you're overreacting? Answer briefly. Some people would support me, but others might. Then add one example from your life. Good. Now think practically. What is the first step you could take this week? Start with, "I could." Make it specific. "I could research 3 options, speak to someone with experience, and set a date to decide." Let's connect the whole answer. Why do you want the change? What could be difficult? How might others react? And what will you do first? Listen to this model, then shadow me. To be honest, I want to make this change because I've been feeling stuck. The thing is, I'm worried about the risks, and I know some people may disagree. Still, I'd say the first step is to gather information and make a realistic plan. Shadow it again with a little more speed. Keep the ideas connected. Don't translate every sentence. Let the meaning move forward. In natural conversation, connected ideas often arrive faster than perfectly separate sentences. Now retell the answer without my model. Speak for 30 seconds and make it personal. If your grammar isn't perfect, keep going. Fluency grows when you stay with the message instead of stopping to repair every word. When you finish, answer the central question once more. What meaningful change do you want to make, and what is stopping you? Notice whether your second answer comes more quickly, feels more organized, or sounds more like you. That difference is the progress you're building. Let's make the challenge more demanding. This time, you have less time to prepare, and I will not tell you exactly what to say. Imagine we are having a real conversation about an important decision in your life. What meaningful lifestyle change are you seriously considering? Answer out loud now. Begin with, I've been thinking about. Good. Now imagine I ask, why do you want to make that change now, rather than 6 months from now? Respond immediately. You could say, that's a good question. To be honest, I've realized that waiting hasn't made the problem disappear. Keep your answer personal, even if it is simple. What could make this change difficult? Start with, the thing is, and mention one real obstacle, such as time, money, confidence, or support. Try connecting two ideas. The thing is, I want to change, but I'm worried that my routine will pull me back. Notice how this phrase gives you a moment to think while keeping the conversation moving. Now I'm going to disagree. I might say, people often use a busy schedule as an excuse. If something really matters, they find a way. What do you think? Respond calmly, not perfectly. You could say, I see what you mean, but it depends. Some people need stronger priorities, while others have responsibilities they cannot simply remove. You acknowledge my point without giving up your own view. Continue with an example from your experience. If you need a moment, use, I'm not really sure, but you might say, I'm not really sure, but sometimes people need a smaller first step because a complete change feels impossible. That is natural conversation. You did not try to defeat the other opinion. You recognized it, added a condition, and explained your perspective. Real fluency means staying connected to your meaning, not memorizing perfect sentences. One final question. What will you do first? Give a specific action and a specific time. I'd say I'll research my options tonight and choose one small step by the weekend. What about you? Now shadow this complete answer. To be honest, I want to make a meaningful change because I no longer feel comfortable with my current routine. The thing is, I know it may be difficult, and some people may not understand. Still, I'd say the best first step is to begin small, gather information, and give myself a realistic date to decide. Again, a little faster. Let the words connect, especially want to, because and best first step. Do not stop after every word. Follow the meaning as one flowing thought. Now retell the conversation without my model. Explain your change, your concern, the disagreement, and your first action. Speak for 1 minute. If you get stuck, use actually, it depends. Let me think for a second. Or, what about you? Instead of translating. When you finish, answer this central question again. What change do you want to make? And what has been stopping you? Was your response more immediate, organized, or personal than before? Be honest. Were you translating every sentence, or did some ideas appear directly in English? Maybe only one short answer came naturally. That still matters. Faster thinking often begins quietly, in small moments you almost miss. For the next few days, keep the routine simple. Choose one real question, answer aloud, repeat with smoother connections, and say it once more without looking at a model. 5 focused minutes can keep this progress alive. The most important change may have happened quietly. You are not waiting to become fluent someday. Each time you stay with your meaning and keep speaking, you are already building faster, clearer, more natural English.